welcome the Prime Minister of the State of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu.
Wow, just like in the Knesset.
What's happening?
Part of this terrible Nakba, the tragedy,
Nakba.
Nakba, in the fact that people relate and fuse together the religion with this concept of Zionism, the State of Israel, and that if you are the more religious, the more supportive you'll be of this occupation of Palestine and opposing the Palestinian people.
That's Jerusalem, the eternal, united capital of Israel.
And that is a real great tragedy, because in truth, there could be nothing further from the truth, because the more a religious Jew, the more he will be in opposition to the whole concept of the occupation, to the whole concept of a state of Israel, and to the whole ideology of Zionism.
I want to ask the 13,000 supporters of the State of Israel to stand up and applaud the representatives of the United States for standing up with Israel.
Zionism and the State of Israel is the diametric opposite. It is forbidden according to the Jewish religion. We are forbidden to oppress a people. We are forbidden to try to take the land away from the Palestinian people. The Torah says, that's the Jewish teachings, you're not allowed to steal, you're not allowed to kill.
Israel must always reserve the right to defend itself.
The Jewish people have accepted the fact that we were sent into exile around 2,000 years ago. We were banished by the Almighty because of our sins, our spiritual lacking. And once that happened 2,000 years ago, we were put under oath by God in a prophecy from King Solomon that tells the Jews that they are put under 3 oaths. 1, not to return en masse, in large numbers, to the Holy Land. And secondly, we are not to rebel against any nation. We have to be loyal citizens in every country residing, whether it is in Egypt or in Iran or the United States. That is the requirement of a Jew. And thirdly, not to make any attempt to end exile. That oath, these oaths of God, dictates to us that we are never to make an attempt to make 1 inch of Jewish sovereignty, 1 inch of a concept of a state of Israel. And Jews respected this for 2,000 years.
The Jewish state will not allow those who seek our destruction.
We were sent into exile because we were not on the spiritual level we were supposed to be. So we're lacking in closeness to God.
And I promise you that as Prime Minister, I will never gamble with the security of the State of Israel.
And that is what we constantly pray to God to accept us once again. And we believe one day God will make a miracle where the whole world will recognize the one God. Then they will stop being atheists. There will be a metaphysical change. When that happens, all the world together, we believe, will go up and serve God. Then we will return. We believe God will create a temple himself without any human intervention.
هم شايفين ان اقامة دولة اسرائيل ضد ارادة الرب، وان المفروض يفضلوا في شتات لغاية لما تحصل معجزة في تجلي الرب، وإن هو اللي هيبني المعبد.
Zionism takes this Judaism and transforms it from subservience to God, from religion, to base nationalism, that we're lacking a piece of land, a state, created by Theodor Herzl, Jabotinsky, Ben Gurion, these people who detested the religion and God.
Today we have a state of our own, and the purpose of the Jewish state is to defend Jewish lives and to secure the Jewish future.
And they simply transform the religion into a material concept. We're lacking a piece of land. The solution is to take a piece of land, ignoring, of course, the commands of God that we are forbidden to take land, ignoring, being that they don't have this moral ruler of the Torah, that it says in the Torah you're not allowed to steal the land from another people. So the fact that they're abusing the religion, taking the religion and waving the Torah as a deed to the land, to take the land from the Palestinian people, claiming God gave it to us, and so forth, they knew that's hypocrisy, that's false.
Williamsburg, Brooklyn. أكبر تجمع لليهود الأصوليين أو زي ما بيسموا نفسهم الهساكة. لكن اللي قعدنا معاه ما كانش مجرد هساكة، ده كان من جماعة اسمها ناتوري كارتا.
This whole neighborhood,
Yes.
they are Orthodox Jews, and so this comes as a surprise for me because I see this and I say like, oh, these are the people who are actually up and against the Palestinians, and they're actually the people who are for Israel. And now you're telling me it's not the case.
Go in any synagogue, any house in the whole neighborhood, you wouldn't find one so-called Israeli flag.
في اللحظة اللي أنا كنت بدأت أصدق إن فعلا كل الناس اللي في المنطقة دي بتؤمن بالكلام ده، وإن في أمل إن إحنا ممكن نتحد مع كل يهود الهساكة عشان نحل مشكلة فلسطين، في اللحظة دي حد دخل علينا.
Wir wollen den Brot und den Kriegen dem, so werden wir Francis so.
And
But what happened? Did we do something?
Basically, let me just finish this point.
Okay,
So basically, okay, very good. Yeah, he said that he opposes that I'm speaking against the land of Israel.
So
Yes.
these people who look like you, who dress like you, who actually engage into violence and kind of support of the Zionist government are a fringe group.
Definitely. In other words, they come from non-religious families who are idealists and were ensnared into the Zionist ploy and propaganda of claiming they're speaking in the name of religion. But in order to gain legitimacy amongst the Jews, they put themselves on an aura of religion, claiming, oh, we're the beginning of God's redemption, counting on the ignorance of the masses that around the world, unfortunately, majority of Jews and evangelistic Christians simply believe that, oh, God gave the Jews the land, and so they think, yeah, this is the will of God that we should have the land. But this is not the Judaism.
It's not a religious conflict. That's a Zionist ploy of accusing everybody of being anti-Semitic.
Hello, Mr. President. My name is Layla Abdelaziz. I'm a student at the University of South Florida.
Hey, Layla.
Why have we not condemned Israel and Egypt's human rights violations against the occupied Palestinian people, and yet we continue to support financially with billions of dollars coming from our tax dollars?
Okay, now everybody's got to be courteous. Everybody's answering the question. Hold on 1 second. I got to answer my question first, sir. The Middle East is obviously an issue that has plagued the region. Here's my view. Israel is one of our strongest allies. It is a vibrant democracy. It shares links with us in all sorts of ways. It is critical for us, and I will never waver from ensuring Israel's security.
You see the hypocrisy, the blatant hypocrisy, the falsehood, and it could only leave the works of Satan that they could carry on for well over 100 years, 60-odd years of the state, and over 100 years of the oppressing the Palestinian people and the Jewish communities that they assassinate and kill there. And yet the world is silent. The world is blind. AIPAC is American-Israeli, which stands for American-Israeli Political Alliance Committee. And what they do is, although they, like Rabbi Weberman said, they're not so many in number as they're efficient, because what they do is they come together every year in Washington D.C. and they follow closely the words and statements of politicians, and if they find somebody seeming to be too sympathetic for the Palestinian cause, what they'll do is they'll start targeting this person. They'll put up candidates against this politician.
So they will infuse money against this person in his
like
district.
you say, the fear of God. People are so afraid of them because they know if they'll touch this holy cow, they'll touch this issue of Israel, then they'll commit political suicide if they oppose their stance. They use the Jewish symbols, Star of David. They walk around and they brutally beat the Jews. I have many pictures to show that wherever we go, every time we demonstrate, we're peaceful, we're non-violent. We demonstrate in Palestine, in Jerusalem, in Al-Quds, and around the world, every year, constantly. And this is what you will find. Jews brutally beaten by the Zionists.
Judaism is spirituality, a religion of compassion to emulate God. Zionism must be created 100 years ago by
do they still stay there if they oppose the country of Israel? Why do they actually help Israel to spread its authority on Palestinian land?
Some people fled.
Some people fled.
Yes, but the majority, it's a very hard thing to leave family. We would encourage them to leave, but it's not that easy.
Tens of thousands of Jews left because even the chief rabbi of Palestine, whose name was Rabbi Teitelbaum of blessed memory, moved and started here in Williamsburg, and then they created even a whole town upstate.
So some people chose to leave the whole thing?
Yes, because they said, we do not want to be under the influenced by this kafira, by this heresy of the state of Israel, and to be a partner in the crime what they're doing.
And what about the people who stayed?
And the ones who stayed, there was a major conflict, let's go, a difference of opinion in the rabbinical authorities when Zionism put their tentacles in the Holy Land and started taking, having control over the land. While other rabbis said that we should stay within, fight from within, and not just give the land away to these people. They should take it over. We should demonstrate, fight, and let the world know that they don't represent Judaism. Let me just expand with God's help. Jewish people for hundreds and hundreds of years have lived around the world in Muslim communities and throughout Europe. And we've gone through a lot of trials and tribulations, the Inquisition, Spanish Inquisition, where they tried to convert the Jews to Christianity, the Crusades, and many, many other hard times. And the Jewish people have always found a home and a safe haven. And gracious hospitality was given them in the Muslim countries for hundreds of years.
The facts on the ground, how we've been living for hundreds of years in Yemen, in Morocco, in Tunisia, in Palestine, in Egypt. What Arab land have not Jewish people been living together with Muslims without any human rights groups? Tell me what land the Jews did not live in harmony with the Muslims.
The Muslim and Arab countries for hundreds and hundreds of years was our home. And that is a fact on the ground. I visited Arab and Muslim countries, and you'll find synagogues that are still there from 50 years ago and 100 years ago. You see where the Jewish communities flourished. And now to come and say to these people, oh, you hate us, you hated us, you were always bad to us, and you have an ingrained hate to us. There's nothing more despicable than that. They'll vilify the Palestinian Muslim people as the ones who are perpetrating a crime, instead of being what they are, victims of a crime of simply they were thrown out of their homes, they were thrown out, they were murdered, and at the villains is Zionism, that their hands are covered with blood.
My name is Sarah. I want to be a movie director in the future.
أنا اسمي محمد لبدي لما أكبر إن شاء الله بدي أصير لاعب كرة قدم.
أنا اسمي طارق وأنا بدي أصير طيار. أنا اسمي صديان لما أكبر بدي أصير مصورة.
لأذبح لطير الحمام روح يا حمام لا تصدي بضحك عريمة تتنام
We are frustrated because this occupation is being done in our name. We cry for the suffering of the Palestinian people. We go we've gone to, here you find, we went to Gaza.
خطفوني الغجار من تحت خيمة مجدلي التشتشي والتشتشي والخوخ تحت المشمشي كل ما هب بالهوا لطف ناري ما مشمشي هي وهيلينا دستك لكنك عيرينا تنغسلت يا بريد